In celebration of National Radio Day, I started thinking about what are the things that radio could be doing better? Because we all love radio and we all want our audience back. But we want to make radio great again. So what could radio be doing better? Here are my thoughts. I'm Dane Reid, the voiceover guy. Check me out. Local radio is the reason why I fell in love with radio. I'm from a big market. I grew up in New York, where radio made New York feel like the biggest place in the world. Like, we could have never really had outsiders come into the New York market and tell New York how things go. New York is a place in of itself. You see people walking around the streets, there's accidents, there's crime, we got a lot of interesting stuff in New York. Not all of it good. But there's a lot of good things about New York. And we need someone to tell that story. You guys know I love good stories. And it's because of the background that you would hear on local TV and local radio. And that's really important. I moved to a new city, Atlanta. And when I came here, I needed someone who was going to tell the story of this city. I needed someone who was going to tell me where to go party because I was a young guy. I wanted to know where the girls at. I wanted to know where the music at. Back in the day, I just wanted to know where the fun was. Where are all the people like me hanging out and what are they doing? And the resource at the time was local radio. I turned to V103. I turned to Hot 97.5. And they told me where all the parties were. It was people on the radio relating to what I was relating to that got me even interested in being a voiceover talent who does commercials. I used to hear the commercials on the air for the local nightclubs, and I would think, oh my gosh, I could do that. And that actually is what inspired me. Those were local ads for local clubs. There's no syndication for that. It felt very personal, and it actually guided my career. When I listen to local radio, from day after day, week after week, year after year, you start feeling like you know these personalities. I start feeling like I knew, Ryan Cameron or Frank Ski as they were on the radio. I would see them in the clubs. I would see them in their restaurants, in the street. There was a certain amount of access, especially in a market like Atlanta. Bert Weiss, who was on the radio 20, 25 years, I followed his story, his kids, his relationships, his struggles, his victories. He made people come out to Big Bert's adventure every year, which was a big charity. And it felt personal. I actually even know Bert and worked out with him for a long, long time. Went to some events that he had that were personal and even been to his house. That's because local radio allowed me to network with these people in our local market. Now, not everybody is going to go into radio. But as I listen to afternoon radio and drive time and I hear some of these people who call up, they talk to the jocks as if they're friends. These guys give inspiration to people, but they give a certain friendliness as well. You can't underestimate how powerful that is. Whether your market is New York, whether your market is Atlanta, whether your market is Tuscaloosa, you have to understand, this draws people out. I believe that radio is suffering for a few reasons. Obviously, there's the convenience factor that they are competing against. People are actually able to choose their own music wherever they are. They can be on a plane. They can be anywhere where there's no FM signal. People are able to select what they want to listen to when they want to listen to it. But I think radio is so pertinent because we're telling you what's happening now. We're telling you where to be, where to go, what to avoid. The people on the radio, they're like your homies, you're like standing next to them and stuff. Those are your people because they give off a local people flair. They sound like you. They have the same accent as you do. They know what's happening in your community. They talk about your local politics, your local mayor. They're not just strangers. At least it doesn't feel like they're strangers. Radio began to drift away when they started cheapening out and started everything being syndication. It's harder to call up the syndicated show and be like, yo, what's up? There's very little audience interaction in syndication. They don't ask you as many contest questions and things like that because they don't have to. And it's quite difficult to have people call in and answer the same questions in New York City as it would be in Tuscaloosa. And so radio started cutting, and not recognizing that while they were cutting, they were also losing. I think there's an opportunity to bring radio back. But the first thing is that radio has to feel touchable again, relatable again. I think we need to pull back from syndication, and I think we need to start installing authentic local talent into the market. People who grew up in that market, people who actually show that they care and give information that is based on things that are happening around your block, around the corner. I think when that starts to happen, and then radio can also jump from this very static place where you need an FM or AM signal to a place where you can tune in at any time, as it is, then it'll bring radio listeners back. There are a lot of creative things that are happening in radio. Local radio is reaching out on Instagram and TikToks with shorts and reels and posts. They're going live. They're posting their 4-hour shows in whole and in part on YouTube. And I think that's great, but they still need to continue to go out and touch people, bring people more of what they want. I think radio could do a really great job if they address some of the issues that people deal with in their everyday struggles. So some of those things I think are things that are really important for radio, and I think can be really beneficial to radio. When we start talking about bringing audiences back, we can't let them drift so far into being a national audience. We got to make them local again. We got to hear local commercials produced by local guys that speak directly to you. That is what local radio can do and should do. I'm Dane Reid, wishing you a happy National Radio Day 2026. I'll be back wishing you a happy Radio Day 2027 and 2028 and 2029 and 2030. I will be a part of this community as a radio imaging guy, as a producer, as long as you will allow me. I'm Dane Reid, the voiceover guy. If you need commercials, radio imaging, check out my website, www.danereidmedia.com. Leave me a message on my contact, and I'll get back to you. Peace. I'm gone.